Hello and welcome to the Wellness Connection podcast. I'm your host, Fiona Kane. Today I have another guest. Her name is Sara Garrett, and we're going to be talking about finding me in motherhood. Hi, Sara.
Good morning.
So, for those who don't know you, because you're a friend of mine from a long time ago, that we've remained friends for many years. But for
We
those who
have.
don't know you, tell us a little bit about you.
I am a married mum of three. I have three kids, 10, 7 and 3. I have done a lot of different jobs over the years, but we used to work together in health food. That's
Yes,
how we know
Sara
each
was
other.
my boss.
I used to manage a little healthy life store back in the day, which was a lot of fun, and I learned lots of things. And I had the privilege of meeting you, which was wonderful.
Of course, all that's, that goes without saying.
Making friendships.
It's the most important thing that happened. You met me.
And over the years, I've done lots of different jobs, like I said. But I am currently a life coach and an NLP practitioner, and I'm living my dream job. I love my career. This is something I've done over the last few years, and it came about because of how I was feeling in motherhood. So, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So, you and I have had these discussions, and it's a common discussion I have with whether it be with my clients or whether it be, with my friends who are mums. And most of the people who listen and watch this know that I'm not a mother. So I always talk about it's the hardest job. And, and even when I'm making comments about we should do this or we should do that, whatever, I always kind of say, hey, look, easy. It's really easy for me to say because I'm not doing it. And actually that makes me the perfect mother because you can only be the perfect mother in your mind.
Yeah, this is true.
Once you actually do it in reality, you can't be perfect anymore. So I'm the perfect mother in my mind because I don't have to do it. So I don't have to prove that I'm flawed just like everybody else and it's hard and all the rest of it. But, look, it really is, I don't know, I think being a woman in this age, let alone being a mother, there's lots of challenges around it. Lots of things have changed over the last, even since our parents and onwards. But a lot's
Absolutely.
changed, and so maybe I hear the challenge. The challenge I hear all about is mothers talking about that they lose their identity when they have children, and
100%, yes.
then there's lots of mother guilt about how much time you do or don't spend with your children, and if you go back to work, and when do you go, all of those kinds of things. So maybe start, telling me about some of those things.
Yeah, so for me, I had always wanted to be a mum. I was really excited to become a mother. And then when my first son arrived, I felt out of my depth. And which is normal when you have a newborn. It's a real adjustment. But that feeling of being unsure and lost and stuck sort of continued on for me. Even after my third child, I felt that way. And I felt so guilty because all I ever wanted to do was be a mum. And, I had these 3 beautiful kids. I should be grateful, and I absolutely am grateful. But at the same time, I really, like you said, I lost a sense of identity. I didn't know who I was anymore apart from being a mother and a caregiver.
Mm.
And for me, I changed, jobs a lot because I thought, I would find some passion or some excitement with that, and I would get that sense of identity back. And I never did until I came across coaching, life coaching. But yeah, like you said, a lot of mums feel lost and stuck, and they lose that sense of identity when they become mothers. But it's important for them to know that they're not alone, and this is a very common occurrence. So I think I've lost you, Fee. Oh, no, there you are.
No.
You're back. Sorry. My screen paused for a second. I apologise.
That's the thing about recording online. These
Yes,
things
this
happen.
happens.
It's all good.
But back in 2022, something that really resonated with me, I came across an essay I found on like a motherhood website. It's called Motherly. If you don't mind, I'd love to share it with the
Sure.
viewers and with you. And this essay sort of really resonated with me, and I feel like it would make a difference to a lot of other mums as well.
Mhm.
So it's written by the editor of this website, and she's an author as well. Her name's Mariah Maddox, and she writes a lot of essays and poems, and also I think she has a couple of books out about motherhood. But I won't read the whole thing, but this is a few paragraphs here. So it's called I Love My Baby, but I Miss Myself. Nothing has brought me greater joy than motherhood, but nothing has brought me greater grief than becoming a foreigner in my own skin. Most times I don't know who I am beyond a body that has stretched to form a child and now spends endless moments catering to their well-being. I love watching this tiny human become their own person. I love knowing that I'm needed and that this precious baby depends on me. But sometimes I just wish that I could know myself in the process. And I wish others were more patient with me as I try to learn this new version of myself as well. It seems like I'm alone most days with a child tugging for my attention, friends and family that don't check in as often as they used to because, let's face it, I'm slow in replying these days, and sometimes others just don't understand that I'm struggling, that I'm in the middle of an identity crisis, that I'm faced with an ongoing battle of emotions that feels like they're drowning me. I know that I'm not alone. I know that there are many other mothers out there feeling the weight of these exact emotions, wondering if they're all alone as well. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone, that the reality is universal and mothers everywhere share this pain. So that's just a little excerpt of that essay. And I was like, my goodness, that just rings so true.
Yes.
And I think for mums, we get so caught up in being the caregiver and the family manager and everything else that comes with being a wife and a mum that we forget about ourselves and we put ourselves last. And it's the worst thing we can do for our family and our kids is to lose ourselves, because we don't, we're unable to be present. We carry resentment. We don't model the best behaviours for our kids when we're not feeling great about ourselves.
Yes.
And so therein lies the issue.
Yeah, and look, to a certain degree too, I think for the survival of the species, I think
Biology.
biology, mothers are made that way, and it's for a
Yes.
really good reason.
Yes.
So initially, what I think it's like, up to for the first 9 months or whatever, the babies really, really do. I mean, obviously, all children need their mum, but
Yes.
they very, very much do need their mother. And I think Jordan Peterson talks about this, how essentially it's got to be unquestioningly. How do you say that word? Unquestioningly, the child,
Unquestionable.
whatever the word is that I can't say. It's like when you start doing a podcast, that's when you realize you don't know how to pronounce words that you read. It's like you got to say that. Oh, I realize I don't know how to say it. Look, a baby's always right.
Yeah.
Okay, that first year of its life, it's always right. Whatever it needs, it is right. Its needs are the most important thing. It's always right, and it needs to be attended to, right? So for the survival of the species, that does require a certain amount of, giving of yourself and not really thinking about yourself too much, if at
Yeah.
all,
Yes.
because you actually do need to tend to this being that requires this full attention and to be kept, alive. So it's a very good reason that we are made that
We're
way. So I don't
programmed that way. Yes,
Yeah, so I don't think
absolutely.
it's like a wrong, so it's not wrong that we're like it, but it's, not that you were saying that, but it's more, okay, so we know we're programmed that way, so it's really natural to feel that way, and I suppose for this to happen, but then, how do you transition to a place where there's a little bit more balance there? Because your family will
Correct.
always need you, and of course, being a mother is really important, and you want to be there for your children. However, you do want to, if that for you isn't like, and look, some people will stay at home with 3 children, do that full time, and that's their identity, and they absolutely love it, and that's what they want to do, and that's perfect for them, and they're really happy. But many women are somewhere in between, or they maybe want a career or a little bit of both, whatever they want, and it's not quite it doesn't quite work that way for them. So it's like and even if you do, actually, the truth is, even if you still are, if you're a full-time stay-at-home mum, that's all you want to do. And you're able to do that, financially as well, because
Yeah,
there's a
good for
financial
them.
issue. So you're
Yeah.
able to do that. But even then, self-care comes into play. So whether the self-care is looking after yourself within the home, or whether the self-care is having a career, or whether it's looking after your health, whatever it is. So
Mm,
yeah, regardless of what type of mum or what type of role you want or can or do play in your family's life, there needs to be a level of self-care. So at some point that
yes.
has to kick back in.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I share a lot with my clients, and in my Facebook group for mums, which is Finding Me in Motherhood as well. We talk a lot about self-care. And my ongoing phrase is, I say this all the time, self-care is not selfish, it's self-preservation.
Mm.
If you don't do that as a mum, if you don't take the time, even if it's 5 minutes to have a cup of tea and sit outside, or if you're lucky enough to get an hour to yourself and you can go up the shops and get a massage, whatever it is, it needs to be done, and you need to prioritize that, because you cannot give your children what they need when you're running on empty.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
allowing yourself those moments, like I said, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour or a weekend away, whatever you can manage and maintain, you absolutely need to prioritize that. It's essential.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have those moments for you so that you can just. Actually, there was a friend of mine years ago who said that the way that she survived motherhood was that she actually gets up super early in the morning, and kids get up pretty early anyway, but she
Yeah.
gets up, she gets up even earlier than that, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so she says that she has this like 40 minutes, half an hour in the morning that was her
Beautiful.
time, and
Me
she was up.
time.
Yeah, she was up before everyone, so she just had time to have that cuppa
Yeah.
and just kind of get her head, just be in her quiet space or do her thing, whatever she needed to do
Mm-hmm.
before everyone else's needs. Now, of course, you'd have to go to bed earlier to do that. And, obviously people have different situations, different jobs, whatever, but that really worked for her. So it
Yeah.
really is kind of just finding what it is that works for you.
Correct. Yeah. Every mum's different. Every family is different. But working out what works best for you and sticking to it. Yeah. And it's not just the other thing with, if you're faced with feeling that loss of identity and you're feeling a bit stuck and lost in motherhood, self-care should be at the top of your list. But then you also want to be looking at things like trying to reconnect with old interests that you may have had before you became a mum,
Mm.
or finding out what interests you now, whether that's like personal development, or just working out what your strengths are, or finding a new hobby, whatever it is, that should be a priority as well. Getting that passion and purpose back, is really important as well, to get you through that.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you got some strategies, some things that you have done or that you've just found personally that have worked for you?
For me personally, it was definitely coaching, and that's the reason I've become a life coach myself, because I
Okay.
saw how much it helped me, and I thought I would love to do this for other mums and support other mums. So I worked a lot on personal development for myself, found out, went on a bit of a self-discovery journey, I suppose, and found out where my strengths lie, what I'm good at. Really thought long and hard about what I wanted to do with my life, what brought me joy, because I was tired of being, cranky and resentful and sad, and I just wasn't being the type of mother I think my kids deserved,
Mm.
and my husband. So, or the kind of wife my husband deserved, I should say,
Yes.
not mother. I'm not his mother. um, so, yeah, a lot of self-discovery, definitely self-care, which we've talked about. I made sure I did a bit of a, what's the word? I really looked long and hard about the kind of people and the community I was surrounding myself with. So making sure I had the right support network, because
Yes.
mums can't do it on their own. It takes a village. That's a real thing.
Mm.
So, having a look at who I was surrounding myself with, were they positive influences on me? Could I rely on them if I needed to, if I needed help with the kids,
Mm.
to be able to pursue something for myself?
Yes.
And I highly encourage all mums to do that. If they don't have the right support network around them, branch out and start trying to build that, whether that's, and I say this to my clients who don't have a lot of family around them and don't have help with their kids.
Mm.
Look at things like if your child's playing sport, if they're playing soccer or football or something like that, are you making friends with other parents there? Are there other parents that might be able to help you out when you can't get your child there so you can do something for yourself or whatever it is?
Mm.
And do that for them. It works both ways, you know?
Yes.
Do you have parents at school that you can make friends with? School communities are great places where you can find the right support network. Neighbours. There's so many different opportunities to build a good support network around you and your family,
Yes.
because it takes a village, and you need that if you're going to be able to pursue things outside of motherhood for yourself as well.
Yes, yeah, and really, like you were saying there, it's about reaching out,
Yes.
and I think we also have to be prepared, and this is just generally in life. When you reach out, not everyone's going to respond well. Not everyone might want to be your friend or might, whatever. Everyone's got their own thing going on. So
Mm.
it's actually just keep going until you find the right people, until, so it's as simple as that. Because sometimes I think people might reach out once, and if they feel somehow they've been rejected, they don't keep looking. And I think we need to sort of just be okay with it. Other people have different things going on. It might not be the right
Yes.
person, but and it's usually not about you, even if it feels like it's about you. So
Yeah. Stop taking everything personally.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I think
Everybody's got their own stuff going on.
we can
Yeah.
feel like that. Anyone who's been isolated in any way,
Hmm.
what happens is we do get, and I think being a mum in some ways, from what the way people describe it to me, can feel
Yes.
isolating.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yep.
so
I think
when
it's
we
80 up to 80%. So 80% of new mums in particular feel completely isolated and alone during
Yeah.
motherhood.
Yeah. So, Guy Winch in his TED talk, which is really great. He did a couple, but he did one, and I can't remember, what was it? I can't remember the title of it, but it was the first one. And he talks about in how when we feel alone or when we feel isolated, we do start to tell ourselves stories, and we tell ourselves stories that aren't helpful, and we tell ourselves stories about people don't care or they don't want to be our
Hmm.
friend or whatever it is.
Yeah, all that negative self-talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the problem with that is then we assume, we go somewhere and someone kind of, we think that someone gave us a filthy look or they looked at us funny or whatever, but they didn't, or we ask someone and we didn't realize they actually just didn't hear us,
Hmm.
or maybe they just, who knows what happened. Maybe their mother died that morning. You don't know what's happened to that person. They're just like, oh, and we kind of go, oh, everyone hates me or whatever. So what we do know is that as human beings, we are very good at making up stories about people don't want to help you or they don't care or they don't like you or whatever. And if you are feeling isolated, that might be even
Mm.
more so, because
Yeah.
we can and do that when we're isolated. So it's like not just kind of everything that you said is great, but just like hang in there as well. Like it's not always the
Yes.
first person you ask or the first situation that works, but you will find something that works if you actually just hang in there and keep
Yeah,
going with it.
correct. Yeah. And it's also about reciprocation too. So it's not just about you always asking for the help and support. Offer it when you've got the
Yes.
time. Offer that to somebody else, because when we do that, it creates the balance. You're more likely going to get someone to say yes to you. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just going to pause for a moment, just a moment. Sorry, everyone. We had a technical issue, so I just stopped for a moment. So back into it. But yeah, so look, what we were just talking about then is just keep going and find support. But like you said, offer to help as well,
Yes.
because if you offer to help, that makes a big
Hmm.
difference. Like it's not, the friendships are not one way things.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you offer support, maybe that's also a way that you can find
Mm.
your right place, your right people, your right tribe.
Yes. Yeah. And it's worth it when you find your tribe. A whole new world opens up to you.
Yes.
So definitely key in finding yourself in motherhood is having the right people around you.
Yeah. The other
Yes.
thing too that I know that that Beck, who used to work for me, a nutritionist who used to work for me, she's got 2 little ones, and what she said is that when she first had her babies, she had to go off Instagram.
Mm,
Now you can I've got an episode coming up about this, but you can kind of program Instagram in a way that you see the things that you want to see. So
mhm.
there are ways to kind of play around with the algorithm and choose what you do and don't see. But she had to do that because she was seeing all of these, there's so much kind of the perfect mother kind of Insta type
Yeah.
thing, and she was seeing so much of that stuff that she, because you're sitting there on the lounge and, you're covered in, like, vomit and poo
Breast
and
milk.
breast milk, and you've got, like, mastitis and you're in
Feeling
pain and
awful,
you can't settle your baby and,
tired.
your house looks like a tornado went through it, and, and you haven't had a shower in 3 days or whatever, and you go through you go through Instagram and you see, like, the perfect mother type
Yeah.
things, all of that crap that people put on Instagram. And so she actually found herself, and it was the perfect mother thing, but it was also the advice thing.
Mm.
Because what she
Everybody's
found
got advice for you.
what she found is that she kind of felt like she had, like, an intuition kick in motherhood, which I think
Yes.
is a thing, that I see in many mothers, so
Yes.
it's, if not all of them, but many, many mothers. And the problem is that you've got your intuition kick in, but then you have everybody else's say so.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm.
hard enough even just with, I mean, everyone's going to have it in their family and real friends or whatever. But then you got Instagram as well telling you that you're a bad mother or that you're wrong, or, how come you don't like
You're
this? Or
not
how
fit
come you,
enough, you don't go to the gym enough,
yeah,
why aren't
yeah,
you
how
in a
come you don't
bikini?
have how come just because 'cause you've had 5 children, how come you don't have a six-pack? You know, whatever it is, that sort of carry on. So, sometimes we need to protect ourselves in other ways as well.
Mhm,
Have you
mhm.
kind of, is that something that you've noticed and
Yeah,
have
look,
to other mothers about?
part of, what I talk about a lot, again, with clients and in the Facebook group is, really working on your self-talk
Yes.
and understanding that you can't control all that stuff that goes on around you on Instagram or other social media platforms or even in real life. You can't control anybody else. You can only control yourself
Mm.
and your thoughts and how you feel.
Yes.
So working on positive self-talk and self-worth, I cannot speak highly enough about doing stuff like that,
Mm.
um, because you know if you don't have that, you are susceptible to listening into all that noise
Yes.
and feeling terrible about yourself as a woman and a mother.
Yeah.
And you know, if you've got the right um, self-worth and self-image and you've got more positive self-talk happening, it empowers you
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can block out all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what I encourage other mums to do is to be able to work on themselves, and because that's the only thing you can control is who you
yes.
are as a person and to what you allow in.
Yeah, yeah, which is one of the things that I talk about with my clients is when I refer to your diet, you were kind of
Mhm.
hinting at this earlier as well, but your diet's not just what you eat.
Yeah.
Your diet is all the things you consume.
Yes.
And if you're consuming the Instagram, like, Instagram can be great if you
Mhm.
use it, if you're using it the right way and you've
You
got
got the
the
right algorithm.
algorithm and whatever. So it's not about Instagram itself, but it's just essentially it's like, well, what's nourishing you and
Mhm.
what's not.
Yes.
And if it's not nourishing you, can you change it, get rid of it, put it on pause? Like
Mhm.
what does that look like? But essentially, it's kind of just doing this audit of, your life, because you were sort of talking, really what you were talking about before is even just the connections and stuff. It was doing a bit of an audit and saying, who are the people in
Yes.
my life? Who are the supports in my life?
That's the word I
And
was looking for. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
The friendship audit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, really it's kind of a life audit. So it's also like if you are really struggling, well,
Mm.
then the question is, what are you consuming?
Yes.
And it could be about diet, and I could talk about that all day, but
Mm.
we're not here to talk about that necessarily today, but although that is part of self-care,
Mm.
but it's actually what or who are you listening to?
Mhm.
What are you who are you watching?
Yes.
If you spend, 5 minutes on Instagram, does that actually sort of like, are you kind of like, I always joke, tell everyone, because at the moment, my brother and my sister and I, we talk about capybaras. So we're sending each other with
Oh,
capybara. So I think I've become a capybara
it's
expert.
so
I see. So when I go on Instagram, it's all capybaras. And
cute.
so it's very, it's not problematic for me. It's just kind of cute capybaras. It's just kind of a bit of, oh, it's cute. Oh, that's lovely. But is that your experience of Instagram? If it is, and it makes you kind of laugh and it makes you smile, and great. But
That's
if
good.
you go on Instagram and you feel bad about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you feel more empty, more lost, whatever it is, then or insert Instagram. It could be something. It could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
It could be the mothers group you go to. You might be in the wrong mothers
Yes.
group, right? So
Yes.
and I've heard those stories before as well, where people
Mm.
go to mothers groups and they feel terrible about themselves because of the type of people that are in there, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe that one person. And so it's what are you consuming, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's all part of it, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And give yourself permission as a mum, um, I suppose. Well, we're backtracking a bit with this, but give yourself permission as a mum to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Like you said, biologically, we're programmed to be there 100% for our kids, and we should. Our kids should come first, but not to the detriment of our own mental health and well-being.
Mm,
And so we need to create the balance. But sorry,
mm,
going back to what you were saying, if um, if being on social media is triggering you or making you feel bad about yourself, then shut it off.
mm.
Do something that makes you feel good about yourself. Find
Yeah,
joy in something else, whatever that is.
yeah.
And that's a little bit about what I was saying with find your passion and purpose. Find a new hobby. Find an interest that makes you feel good.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I agree with you on that whole Instagram thing. It's funny what your algorithm will pick up. I get
Yes.
a lot of book recommendations because I'm constantly looking at stuff like that,
And of
all
course,
that romantic-y stuff. But anyway,
whatever you were looking up or talking about 5 minutes ago as well,
yes, if
I'll
you've had a
record a
conversation
podcast.
with someone, yeah,
I've got a podcast and my phone's just here, and then I'll be seeing ads for whatever I talked about in the podcast. I'm
so
like,
true.
seriously listening to it? Well, it is listening to you. It definitely is.
Yes,
And or I'll look up. I'll be with a client and they'll tell me about some supplement they're taking or something they're doing. So I'll look it up while I'm with them, and then I'll get
and
ads
then you
for the
get
next
ads
few
for all of
weeks
that. Yeah.
for whatever it is. So we get a mixture of stuff. But yeah, look, I think that just knowing what you're consuming matters, and knowing how much it can affect you. So whether that be your food, whether that be Insta, whether it be your mother's group, whatever it is, do your audit and be prepared to. And it's okay, just as much as it's okay to say yes to a group or yes
Mhm.
to a friendship, whatever. It's also okay to say no to it.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Set boundaries. This is another big thing I talk about with clients and other mums. We are so we want to please. We're constantly trying to please others, and or people pleasers, and we don't take a step back and set boundaries for ourselves, healthy boundaries. It's okay to say no. If your kids want to do an extracurricular activity and they're already doing 3 different things, it's okay for you to say no to your kids.
mm,
You can do that next year when we stop playing soccer, or when you don't do piano anymore, or whatever. We can implement something new. But at this
yeah.
stage, we're tapped out.
Mm.
So I give examples of ways you can say no without actually saying no. And they're called agreement frames, I think. I can't remember the specific name for it, but we talk a little bit about that as well. Because, a lot of women, a lot of mothers, we find it really difficult to set boundaries. And if you don't, you're just going to get walked all over. And that's not just from your kids or your husband or your partner. That's just in life in general.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think we talked about this recently when we were having a conversation about Brene Brown, and how she says, choose discomfort over resentment.
Yes.
And that sort of ties into being able to say no as well. Have that uncomfortable conversation where you want to say no to bringing in cakes or whatever to school that day, for something or other, some baking stall or whatever it is. Have that uncomfortable conversation where you say, no, I can't do that. I've got other responsibilities that need to come first. Because otherwise you're filled with resentment.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know whether we had this conversation recently too, but I was talking about with some of my clients as well, and other mums, about Dr. Gabor Marty's recent presentation that was in Sydney that I went to see. And he was saying, which was just staggering to me, 80% of chronic illness sufferers are women and mothers. And he says this, it's in direct relation or correlation with the suppression of emotion,
Yeah.
and also constantly being responsible for others and not for yourself.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's so important as mothers that we work on ourselves and, we prioritize our emotional and mental well-being, because not only obviously can we suffer and end up with things like, a chronic illness or depression or, those sorts of things, but we're also affecting our kids.
Yes.
We're not modeling good behaviors. We're less present. Kids are more likely to go on and have social and emotional and cognitive issues if they've got a mum in the home that has mental health issues.
Yes.
So super important that we do have a balance and we prioritize ourselves as well. So, yeah.
And like you said, the word you said there was perfect because you said model.
Yes.
And I think that we forget that. I think that people think that your kids learn what you tell them, and they sort of do and they sort of don't. But what they do learn is what you show them, what you model to them.
Yes.
And my experience with this is that children who have mothers who don't look after themselves at all, I don't practice any kind of, I have no boundaries, practice no self-care, whatever, if the girls go on to do the same thing because they think that mothers and women don't have needs or shouldn't have them, and they should feel bad if they feel like they have them because they shouldn't have them.
Yes.
And the boys go on to think that their wives and partners don't have needs as well. So I think that
You hit the nail on the head.
what we model is very powerful. And so notice that they're noticing you and your self-care. So if they see you practicing self-care, if they see you exhibiting healthy boundaries, that's what they learn. If they see you having no boundaries, that's what they learn.
Yes. Yep. So true. It's a real, it can be a real issue. So I think, especially if you're a mum and you've got a daughter, especially with, obviously the same can be said about having sons as well.
Yes.
But I think it's really important that you also are showing emotional maturity and you're able to stabilize your own emotions. Sometimes, like as mums, no one's perfect. No mother is perfect. And we need to get that out of our heads.
Yeah. Except for me, remember.
Except for you, Fee.
Because I don't have
You're
kids.
doing wonderful.
So in my mind, I'm the most perfect mother ever, you see.
But like I think...
and all of those Instagram influencers, they're all perfect, of course.
Oh, yes. Everything you see on camera is true.
It's absolutely true, yes.
Yeah. But like you notice it sometimes even, I notice if I'm emotional, if I'm not sort of reining myself in at home, I'm not perfect. I get upset. I get angry. I get frustrated. And I notice if I start raising my voice, and it might not have anything to do with my children. I might be upset about something that, I don't know, happened during the day when they were at school. But then I pick them up from school and I'm a little bit, irritated or agitated, and I raise my voice. And then later that afternoon, I'll be hearing my daughter raise her voice, or one of my boys raise their voice. And I think, calm down, what are you doing? But then I realise I've just modelled that on the way home.
Yeah. There's certainly some funny YouTube videos with children acting out things that their parents do. And
Yes.
you think, wow, what has that child been seeing? And the phone calls, and they do they know the exact way their mum says it and the exact
Yeah.
swear words that mum uses and blah, blah, blah. And you can see them say, wow, all the body language, everything, and you think, wow, okay. But it's true. They see it all.
Mhm.
They see it all. And, I had Steph Pinto on here. She's a emotional intelligence sort of parenting expert in regards to emotional intelligence, and that's what this stuff is. Because
Mhm.
if you know how to regulate your own emotions
Mhm.
and set boundaries and practice emotional intelligence, that is what your children will see and learn. But
Yes.
if you don't know how to do that, well, then that is what your children will see and learn.
Correct. And then it's
So
a cycle, and then they'll be teaching their kids that.
yeah, exactly.
And
So part of this
further
is
on.
actually the self-care is important for lots of different levels, lots of different reasons. So one, it's important, of course, that you look after your health and that
Mhm.
you fill your cup so that you've got
Yes.
something to pour for. Like if you've got nothing left in your cup, you can't help anybody.
Mm.
And we're looking after ourselves so that we don't feel resentful and so we don't feel lost or whatever the emotions are that we're experiencing.
Mhm.
But we're also doing these things because we're modeling and we're actually teaching children how to be a grown up, because the
Yeah.
goal of the children is that they become functional adults.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so the way we do that is by modeling it. And so the way we do that is by having boundaries and by knowing when to say no and knowing when to say yes, and
Mhm.
by practicing emotional intelligence. And one of the things I talk to my clients about, I'm sure you do this as well, being in the coaching industry, is looking at what your values are,
Yes. Yep.
and not just yourself, but maybe what your family values are. I think it's
Mhm.
useful for families to have a set of family values.
Yes.
These are what our values are,
Yep.
and teach your children this is what our family values are, whatever they are for you. If it's different things for different people. It's going to be sort
Mhm.
of health or education or work or God or this or that, or people have all like whatever.
Mhm.
That's you do you. However, once you know what your family values are and your kids know what they are, then also you make decisions around that. So,
Yes. And you
so
can
will
protect those values
yeah,
by
yeah.
putting
Your dec
boundaries.
Exactly, your decisions are about
Yes.
protecting those values,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep.
will I take on this new job or not?
Yep.
Or will dad take on this new job or not? Or will
Mm.
we move the kids to a different school? Whatever the thing is,
Mhm.
but it goes back to your values. And if you have a very clear set of values and you're protecting those values, because
Mhm.
that's essentially what I think that's what sometimes people get mistaken with what boundaries are.
Mhm.
So boundaries are sort of protecting what's within. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, so within my family, we've got this set of values, and we've got, my family are my gold. They're the special thing, and I look after them, right?
Yeah.
And so having boundaries is actually about protecting that.
Mhm.
It's not about putting walls up and pushing people away or being mean or any of that. It's actually about protecting what's within. It's protecting the sacred.
Yes.
And so whatever's
Yeah.
within your kind of sacred. So if you have what you class as being sacred, and that could be your children, your family, your God, whatever it is for you.
Mm.
And some people get upset when I say the word God. Insert insert your whatever it is for you, right? So a magical unicorn, fairy, universe, God, angels, whatever works for you. So it's just naming the kinds of things that for people that would be values. If
Yeah.
you've got that the center, that's really, if you have a real definite idea of what that is,
Mhm.
then every decision you make after that is around protecting that.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot more sense than kind of like feeling like you're punishing people or
Mhm.
feeling like you're being rude or whatever. It's like, no, I'm not being rude. I'm actually just protecting
Yeah.
the really
What we
special.
value most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes with these things, it's if you start with the basis things, like start with the values,
Mm.
work back from there, and we
Yes.
understand what we're protecting,
Yeah.
and we understand what is valuable and
Mm.
what is worth protecting, and like why we're doing it.
Yes.
I think it makes a lot more sense.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's something I work on a lot with clients as well in my program. We talk about values,
Mm,
and not only about setting boundaries around those and protecting those values, but what can we do that enhances those values within our life as well. What activities or behaviors or actions can we do that enhance those values? It's so
Yes.
important. Once you know that, like you said, you can work backwards from there.
Yes.
But yeah, it's such a beautiful place to start.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, I don't know if you saw it. I should bring this up without telling you, but have you seen Adolescence?
I haven't, but I have seen some of your posts about it.
Yeah.
And it's made me want to go and watch it because
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV. I read more books.
Yes.
But then I see stuff like that pop up on social media and I think, I've got to watch that, I've got to
Yeah.
see it. So I
Yeah.
have seen some of your points on it, but I've not actually seen it.
I think it's worth watching, and and a good on, like, of course, what you just displayed there too was an example of how you're nourishing yourself, what you nourish yourself with,
Yeah.
right? And you've only got a certain amount of time and energy. What are you nourishing yourself with? Well, the books nourish you, the TV doesn't. So
Mm-hmm.
well done.
Yeah,
That's really good.
thank you.
So that's a really good thing, and a really good boundary, and a really good understanding of what your values are, and what nourishes you. On adolescence, I'll just say, look, and I've talked about this in more detail in another episode. That by this time this comes out, that episode will be out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's good and bad things about it, but essentially, one thing that it shows probably a few main things, but one of those is the parents looking at where they might have gone wrong with their child,
Mm,
who well, I won't give things like, if you don't want to hear about it, turn off, whatever. But it's pretty much straight up. Everyone knows that essentially this boy murders a girl.
mm,
This 13-year-old boy murders a girl from his school. And so it kind of starts with that. So it's not like a who done it or did he do it. It's like starts with that, and then it kind of works backwards with, well, what led to this, right?
mm-hmm.
And part of it was his parents looking at, well, where did we go wrong? And and they were nice people, they were lovely, like, and you couldn't really. It wasn't like you could obviously see their horrible demonistic parents that didn't love their kids, or what. Nothing like that. They were lovely parents.
Average parents.
Yeah, what you could see was, and what the family kind of did, it was our fault, it's not our fault. Like, and it was kind of, sometimes two things can be true at the same time. You can take responsibility for your part, but also say, but hey, I can't be to blame, sort of thing. But anyway,
Mm,
it's interesting the way it dealt with that, and the way the parents dealt with that. But there was probably two things that they did, inverted commas, that were probably wrong. One of those is that they didn't really know what the boy was doing in his bedroom on his computer, so they just
mm,
didn't know what he was looking at and talking about. The other is that they the father had issues with anger. The father had been brought up with a violent father,
mm-hmm,
and he wasn't violent in any way, but he got very, very angry and would kind of go and smash things up, or like that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
And so what we were just talking about before.
Limited emotional intelligence.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, right. He didn't know how to regulate his emotions, and
yeah.
so he didn't teach his son how to do that, because
Mm,
he didn't know how to do that. And so when the son got sort of really angry about certain things, that he wasn't able to regulate, and then this happened. So it's not like it's the parents' fault, full stop. It's not, but you could kind of see some of the things that contributed to
mm,
what happened. But that's why it's really powerful, this sort of whole modeling thing.
yes.
It's modeling. What you model to your children is extremely powerful, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that and it's sort of getting the balance right as well,
Yes.
because there are some. I find some kind of modern women who are influencers, I find some of them a bit too far the other way, where it's all about them, and they're like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
have to you live your life, and you can't let your children hold you back." Like,
Hold on a
you're
second.
you're a parent.
Yeah. Look,
You're a parent, and parenting's always going to be really important, and
yes.
looking after your children is always going
Yes.
to be really important. So it's not an either or.
No.
It's actually, we can look after our children, but we can look after ourselves as well.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know,
It's
and
about the balance. It's about the balance.
and
When
it's never
you're
going to
the
be perfect either, the
correct.
balance, because
Correct.
you know
Sometimes
stuff
it's going to
happens.
be a little, yeah. And that's normal as well.
Yeah, yeah,
That's normal as well. I just think, for women, if we can be sort of the best version of ourselves that we can,
yes,
then we become the best mothers in turn.
yes, yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. And like what we were just saying there, it won't always be perfect. Life
Correct.
happens, and we have storms hit us. Uh,
Mhm.
everyone's heard me talk about my ship
Oh, waves.
reference before.
Yeah.
Basically, in between the storms, that's when you shore up the ship and make sure it's fixed and it's ready to go. And then you have storms, and of course, when you have those storms in life, there won't be balance. There won't be balance at
Mhm.
all because you're in the storm, and when you're in the
In the
storm,
thick of it.
yeah. So the other thing is too to not like, because sometimes when people do self help or they're on this journey of like being a better person or a better mother or whatever it is that they're trying to do, they get caught up in that they didn't do it perfectly. I even see it with nutrition, right? It's like, oh, you didn't eat perfectly this week. Oh my God, how dare you? It's just like it's not going to happen. So the
Mm.
truth is,
It's a whole journey. It's a
yeah, yeah,
journey
and yet there's
that
no like
continues.
there. You don't get there.
Yeah. It's just continues, and
You
you
know,
grow.
the human journey, you don't get there. What you
Mhm.
do is you develop and you what you were talking about before, you create your community,
Yeah,
your family, community, your backups, your support. You look after yourself when the ship's at shore, as I
mhm,
was explaining before. That's when you do all the self-care and all the things that you need to do to ensure that you're okay, and
and
then
you gotta
life
flip.
happens, and things will not be in balance, and you won't be doing it very well because you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with, and then
Mhm,
things settle back down again, and then you can so it's also just understanding that you'll never be there,
mhm,
you'll never be perfect,
correct.
and like you were saying before, and that the balance is really a doing word. It's not a place to get to,
Correct,
because we see
yeah.
it as it's a doing word. So it's not a place where we get to. It's a thing that we practice,
Yes.
and we practice that. We'll be practicing it forever, and it will swing wildly one direction to the other at different times in
Mhm,
our life, and other times there'll be more balance. That's just realistic. But I think if we understand that when we get started, because I think what I see happen a lot with people is as soon as they feel like they've fallen off and messed up or whatever,
mm,
they're really down on themselves about, oh well, I failed.
yeah,
And it's like,
yep,
no, you didn't fail. Life happened. That's okay. Just keep going.
mm,
And
yeah,
actually, that's something you said to me earlier. Before we started recording, but you kind of were talking about within motherhood how just got to get back, keep going. Like no matter what happens at the end of the day, all you can do is like get up the next day and get the kids ready for school or whatever it is, and keep going. Like no matter what's going on,
mhm.
you just do the best you can.
And
And
show yourself some
sometimes,
self-compassion. This is what I
yeah,
say to mums all the time. Just give yourself a break. Show yourself some self-compassion. It's not always gonna be perfect. Not everything's always gonna run smoothly,
yeah,
and that's okay. That's life.
yes, yeah,
And when you're feeling better, you get back on. You get
yeah.
back on the trajectory.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And sometimes, and this is another thing I've talked to my clients a lot about, but what self-care actually is.
Mm,
Sometimes self-care is remembering to breathe,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes self-care is just forgiving yourself for not
Yes.
having it all figured out, you know?
Yes.
Sometimes self-care is just remember to eat some protein and drink some water.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's go for a walk, sometimes it's
Sometimes
go
it's
to the
get some
gym.
sunshine.
Sometimes it's like have your cup of tea while it's still hot, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is, but don't get caught up in because again, we can get caught up in self care means that I read all the self help books and I go and have my massage and I go to yoga and I go to the gym
Mm,
and I'm
mhm.
wearing my Lululemons and I look perfect in them and you know. Self care can be whatever it needs to be on the day,
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the other thing too. Assess what does self care look like for me today,
Yeah. And it
and
will
it
be different for everyone.
might be just remembering to breathe and
Mhm.
get through it. It might mean go to the gym, it might
Mm.
mean all different things, but just kind of when we assess it on a day-to-day basis rather than kind of have this set thing in our head about because people get it's funny because like when people start doing the self-care thing, sometimes they use that as another way to punish themselves
Yeah.
and another thing they're supposed to be perfect at. So if you kind of go into self-care with the idea that it's just another way to punish yourself and prove that you can't do it and you've let yourself
And
down,
you're not
then
perfect.
so you're gonna go into it knowing that you're not perfect and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else that you would like to add? I mean, obviously this is a big topic, we could go on forever, but is there anything that we've missed or anything that you would like to end with, that you think would be really beneficial?
Um Look, I just want to remind mums out there that if they are feeling lost and they are feeling stuck, that there's so much support out there.
Yes.
And if you're tired of the old mothers groups that you have on Facebook, I have a great group called Finding Me in Motherhood.
Okay. Finding Me in Motherhood.
Finding Me in Motherhood. You can find it at facebook.com/groups/finding me in mum. And this group is for mums that, are looking for more personal development and personal growth, who are looking for support from other like-minded mums that, love being mums themselves, but are looking for something a little bit outside of the box. So we're not there recommending pediatricians or play groups. We're there talking about ways to calm your nervous system and, things on mindset or, what your special strengths are, all that sort of stuff. So I do live streams every month there.
Yes.
And share a lot of free content. And obviously, if they're looking for a bit more, they're always welcome to reach out to me. I've got my coaching business website, which is www.passionforpurpose.com.au, and they can reach out to me directly there, or even on Facebook. On my personal Facebook page, I often post things personal development related, and they can access me through my Facebook as well.
Okay.
But they're not alone. I just want mums to know that they're not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out, and it's okay to. You're not doesn't mean that you're not grateful for your family just because you feel how you feel. Because I think that sometimes people feel like they can't. I can't say that I feel bad because at least I have children, or my children are alive and whatever. And so obviously there's different levels of grief and things that people experience, and people experience all sorts of awful things, but your feelings are your feelings and they're valid. And you can, and two things can be true at the same thing. At the same time. That you are grateful and that you love your family and you love being a mum, but you're also struggling. That can be
correct.
both of those things can be true, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's not, we get this zero-sum game thing where it's like, well, that must mean that you're not grateful and that you're a horrible person. And I was like, no, it just means I'm a human and I'm having human emotions, and that's okay.
It's okay to want something for yourself.
Yes,
and still be a wonderful mum.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for your time today, Sarah. I really enjoyed that chat.
I always love speaking to you, Fee. So this has been a real joy.
Of course you do. Because I'm the best. I love to chat to you as well. It's really been great having you as my friend all these years. And I hope it's a friendship that lasts for forever. I feel like it will be that friendship that will always be. We can always, even if we don't see each other for a while, we can
the
always have each other back.
Remains. Yeah, even though we've, it could be months or years even when we see each other, but when we do, we catch up like it's yesterday.
Yeah, and that's also actually to point out before we finish, that's the truth of relationships, also relationships between people who don't have children and people who do. Your relationship changes when your friends have kids. It is what it is. That's the reality, right? They've got different priorities now. And so you don't have to necessarily dump your friendships, but it's kind of just knowing that, for a while it's going to be working around that. Or if not forever, really. Things change. No, but things do change, and that's okay. And in the first few years, they won't be able to be, this. Even when my sister had her child, suddenly that person for the first little while they're so consumed with that baby, which is what they should be. It's okay. That's normal. But they can't deal with you or, deal with you to the level that they used to or whatever. And that's okay as well. Friendships, adjust and change based on what's going on in people's lives. And that's the other thing that it to sort of just shows being normal. It's normal that things change a bit and that people are a bit less available than more available. And that just changes over life for a whole lot of different reasons. It's the same for me as well even though I don't have children, but caring for parents, right? So we both have the same issues, but just different age, different age people that we're dealing with. But that's fine. So it's just not. It's just like, hey, that's normal, right? It's normal and it's okay. And we just sort of, and being able to sort of go back into life of a friend and not kind of have to feel guilt for what you did or didn't do, and not feeling like, oh, that person hasn't contacted me, maybe they hate me, or maybe they're not like, well, stories that we tell ourselves to go like,
Yes,
hey,
yeah.
maybe that person's just got life happening. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
So anyway, it has been great having you on, and I really like to have real conversations about things that matter here, and I feel like that was definitely one of those. So thanks again,
Oh,
Sarah.
thank you. It's a real privilege. I'm really grateful to be here. So thank you for having me.
And for anyone who's watching or listening, can you please like, subscribe, share? I've worked out that 80% of you who are watching and listening to this podcast are not subscribing. Why not? Please subscribe, hit all the bells and all the different sort of subscribe buttons wherever you are. And if you can write a review, that would be really helpful as well, or comment on Facebook or Rumble. But really, the more activity that happens in regards to this podcast, the more people find out about it and hear about it. And I feel like there's value in that. So, and I appreciate everybody's support. So I will see you all again next week. Thanks again, and bye.
Bye.